good afternoon, everyone. My name is Colin Wilson, and thank you for joining me on this webinar. I'm very passionate about getting this webinar because it's just really it brings everything to the truth of what's going on in the business, and certainly can help you improve, especially with these most difficult times of the COVID situation we're in. So today's webinar is about how staff feedback can make or break your business, and I think it's really important that this topic is just perfect for the times we're in right now. So to get started, we'll go through a bit of housekeeping, but in today's webinar, you'll discover the following: the value of getting staff feedback and why that's important, the most effective ways to get staff feedback, why you must act on staff team feedback. So if they give you the feedback, what you need to do with it, understand why most staff leave, and then why employee engagement is everything that can make and break your business. So as I said, I'm really looking forward to this webinar because we've been doing a lot of this with companies at the moment during the COVID-19, and I know on this webinar there are people from all over Australia that join the webinar, but here in Melbourne we are definitely in some challenging times where there's a lot of lockdown and everything like that, and getting that feedback and getting people back on board to help build the business is what it's all about. I've got another webinar coming up, so if you like this webinar, I'm sure you'll like the next webinar because I've got a series of them happening every month, which I'm very passionate about. Okay, a bit of housekeeping. So today's webinar is being recorded. Everyone in this webinar will receive a copy of the webinar and any support material as well, and a copy of the slides as well. We have everyone on mute, so therefore there's no background noise. We'll ask questions at the end of the webinar, so if anyone's got any questions of what I'm talking about today, then feel free to ask those questions because I really love the interaction. Okay, so a bit about me, I guess, is I am the owner of Key Business Advisors. I love what I do. I'm very passionate about what we do. I have a great team of HR professionals in this business to support me, and there's three things that we really help business with, and that is our business advice and strategy. How to grow, how to get out of, especially right now, out of the times that we're in, and get your business back happening. We do a lot of professional sales training, customer service training, and I have a team of now 6 HR advisors and support that are in the team that are helping our customers to go through our mission, which is good to great. So yes, our mission is about taking business from good to great, and our purpose is we like to take our customers on a journey to help them improve their business through all aspects of employee engagement and performance. So we're in this situation of COVID-19. It's been a crap year for many businesses and many business owners, but we've got to keep moving forward, and we've got to have that positive mindset. And we know without staff you can't grow a business, so it's really important that you do what you need to do to keep the staff, I say, mentally positive, especially in times like now. So I think my first topic is about the value of getting staff feedback and why that is so important. So for me, 80% of the time, your staff know what the business needs to do to be more successful. So you just need to extract it from them. So I'm an outside consultant. I go into companies. One of the first things that I do when I go into a company is I like to, I guess you could say, interview or ask staff just questions about the business, what's working, what's not working, and then try and extract that information from them. So I think what's important is we look at, well, what's their input's invaluable. So how do we increase, for an example, our sales performance? If you've got a sales team, or even if you don't have a sales team, the whole company, what do you think we need to do? I think website and digital marketing is a really big one right now, especially with a lot of companies that are pivoting and trying to get that online presence. So, you can go out, and yes, I do believe getting a company, an outsourced company that specializes in website development and digital marketing is important. However, you can make a great start with getting some tips from your team, asking what can we do to improve, and just some brainstorming is what you're after. I think look at your products and services. So again, many companies have products and services, and I think how do we bundle? What can we do to be more effective? Do we need to bring in any other products or services into the business? And I've got a really good example of that because we did a brainstorming session about 3 months ago with a team of our products and services, and a couple of my HR advisors said, Colin, we want to get into work cover claims because this is something that we do a lot of, but we never promote it. So I thought, okay, well, how do I take that into a product and then start to advertise that? And payroll was another one. How can we get into the business of payroll? And we've just recruited somebody to help that happen. So again, if you are getting valuable information from your team, then and you turn it into an action point, then again you get better engagement. I think, what about our policies or procedures? What's working, or our process and systems? What can we do to become more effective? And, again, I like to showcase what we do in our business, but in this downtime, I've had 2 people work on a project on our business on how to, get more out of our CRM, more reporting and everything like that. And these 2 women have taken total ownership and done that. So again, it's getting that feedback, and I can't echo that enough. Making financial decisions. So again, we're thinking about doing this, or we're thinking about investing into this. What do you think? And again, that is about getting that information back from your team. Better business reporting, which I just talked about before. Even talking about your business partners and suppliers. What do you like about them? What don't you like about them? Can we get more out of them? And so on. Department and team engagement, I think, is really, really big. I've done a lot of work in this area over the last 3-4 months, especially done remotely, but asking questions about trying to get departments to work more efficiently and effectively with one another. And that customer satisfaction. So where are our ideas on how we can generate better customer satisfaction? And that also might link to things like getting testimonials, case studies, and Google reviews. So staff input is really, really important. If you are a leader, a business owner, or a leader, a manager of a business, and you're telling your team this is what we're doing, and there's no input, then I talk about how do you get the buy-in and the clarity around what you want to do. By reaching out to your staff, I think is really, really important. So what you need to do is use this useful information and act on it, because if you don't, what will happen is staff will start to think, well, what's the point of me voicing my opinion, because nothing ever happens. And again, we do employer staff satisfaction surveys for lots of companies, and when that's commonly fed back to us that we've given suggestions and recommendations, but nothing ever happens. So that will build bad culture in your business. So based on the information provided, you need to take better action for better business engagement and improvement. So I think what's important is you try and create some tasks and projects, put together some sort of action plan. And if someone says, hey, that's a good point, then put it into something and turn it into something. Reset maybe some of your KPIs. And again, during COVID-19, I'm very proud of what we've done is, we actually simplified our KPIs, and we've actually achieved more than normal because we simplified them. So sometimes we can make KPIs too big. Realign your business strategy. So we hear this marketing word, you need to pivot your business. So let's realign it. This is the strategy we need to go down. And again, lots of companies during this hard times have actually made decisions and said, this is where we're going and this is where we need to head. And they haven't got their staff involved. And then that's created a bit of a backlash for that company, something that I'm doing a bit of repairing from. I think create a critical pathway. Now, I've picked this up. This is not my idea. This is coming from one of my clients where we did a brainstorming session, and the message was, what is our critical pathway to trade out of COVID-19? And got the whole team on board. And, I can't explain the motivation behind that. And, and the methodology was the critical pathway. So again, it's not about making sales. The critical pathway they're doing is about how each and every employee can get back to full-time work. And again, that's created a motivation in itself. I think it's important that you set some milestones, some check-ins along the way. So this is what we're doing, and let's just check in and see what our progress is and make sure that you that you do that. What it will do is it will build better team engagement, and to me, it shows leadership. And again, in times like these challenging times we've been going through, the companies that I see that are shining have got really good leadership. And they're not radical, they're not making quick changes or anything like that. What they're doing is they're reaching out to their team. We need to rebuild this business. We need to change the way that we're doing things. And they're orchestrating great leadership in the way that they deliver that. Realign the direction of your business or department. So again, so during this is, Some companies we need to realign the direction of our whole business. Others could be just apartments. But you know, I just want to put it out there that even if you don't agree with some of the feedback, and I think that's important, make sure you take their valuable feedback and present your action plan with some rationalisation, the reasons why. So the company needs to go down a path like, i.e., this is not viable or it's a smart decision for the business. And I think that's really, really important. I agree with your feedback, but the business needs to generate this first, which is normally dollars, before we can proceed. Right now, again, that makes it really, really difficult because you need the dollars to actually create change. But again, if it's explained and done in the right way, then staff will get on board. I agree with all those key points. So let's do this in stages and create milestones to celebrate the wins along the way. That's something that we've done as a business over, since March, April, since this shutdown came. We put a plan in place with the team, grabbed their input, and what was really interesting is I asked these guys, how many recruitments do you think we could do during this time period? How many HR audits do you think we could do during this time period? Just 2 examples, right? And pretty much what come back was, we don't think we can do a lot because, lockdown and this and that. Well, I can assure you that simplify the KPIs, drove it, put a message behind it, and then but both of those things have been very, very valuable and profitable for our business, and it's keeping us afloat during these difficult times. So again, it's about taking on board, reaching out to your team, taking on board what they say, but then present it back in such a way that you need to understand, which is my next point, educate your staff on business acumen so they understand. Now, this is a really good point because I've worked with a client, and one of the messages that came out of a team meeting was a staff member said, well, you're okay because you're getting JobKeeper, so that's keeping you afloat. And I witnessed this person saying that, and then I did pretty much a one-on-one with this person afterwards, just to explain that I think you just need to understand that JobKeeper is not there, it's not the be all and end all, it's there, it's propping the business up. It's going to reduce down, as we know, and eventually not be there. But there are other expenses within the business that you don't even know about, and I think that's really important. I think there's a big, during this COVID-19, there's a big role to play for business owners and leaders to really start to educate your team about the business acumen and how your business operates, because so they get the full understanding. So I certainly, I will say, corrected that person based on the comment that was made. But what I do want to say is, what not to do is to do nothing, because if you do nothing, and my HR team constantly hear, when they're talking to clients, we can tell that there's good interactions with some clients, and when we've onboarded a new client or there's disruption in a business, we found out that it's been once a week communication, and we're in shutdown working working from home. So you can't do that. Communication is everything, and I think getting that feedback is really, really valuable. So I hope you like what I just talked about in that first topic. So let's have a look at ways of the most effective ways of, to get staff feedback, because I think it's important. And again, this is your team. It's your team that you want your team to be aligned with what you're doing. Now, we all know about the value of one-on-one discussions and appraisals, and and again, during this COVID-19, I'm going to put it out there that there are some companies that are waiting till things get right, where there are other companies out there that are still following this process, which we highly recommend, and to make sure that you've got everyone on board. But to me, conducting one-on-one discussions and appraisals is non-confronting, as your staff are not in front of the group. So if you run a group meeting, you want to try and get some information, you might find that the introverts won't say anything because they don't want to look silly in front of their other peers, or get shot down, or maybe one of their ideas is not a good idea. So if done right, you can educate your staff, can educate you on a better way to improve your business. So I like to use with my team, and I coach this, positive affirmations. So I need your honest opinion. Right now, I want to put out there that you must have trust with this person. There's no point going to somebody that's there's no credibility, and again, they shouldn't be in the business if you feel like that towards a staff member. But you must have trust. You really value this person, you trust them, and you trust that you're going to get the right response back. What would you do if this was your business? So that's the statement I say. So, you know, I say to my team, if this was your business, what would you do? How would you improve this and get their feedback and understanding? And remember, some of them, you know, like don't understand the full business acumen of a business. So again, I link that back to that. Is this current process working? So, you know, what we've implemented is, do you believe this current process working? I want your honest feedback. What would you do to improve this? And again, you know, I think that's, I talked about, you know, two of my ACE staff members that created a project around our CRM system. This is what they said they would do, and pretty much they executed it. And again, I'm going to talk about, you know, had the conversation, they come up with the ideas, this is what we need to do. I empowered them, used the word empowered them to do it, and they executed it like there's no tomorrow. And again, it's a good feeling from a business owner's perspective, because I'm not doing the work, because I trust that these guys are going to do it to the best of their ability, and they've done that. So again, recognition and praise is important. What would you do to improve this? I just talked about this. How do you believe this business or your department could be more effective or efficient? So again, what's been thrown at a lot of companies during this COVID-19 is they're all being tested just how effective and efficient they are as a business. So I think it's really important to reach out and work out some ways you can do that. So there's nothing wrong with brainstorming with your team, and there's nothing wrong with trying to get that from a one-on-one perspective. So if you did a brainstorming session as a group, and then you then went and challenged some of your staff through some one-on-ones just to try and dig out a bit more information, then that could work. And I always love, you know, and I do this when I go to lots of companies, you know, tell me what's working well and really what needs improvement within the business. And I think sometimes it's just about changing the language in a business. And of recent, I did a one-on-one, actually a one-on-one with a person on Friday. And one of the things this person said was, we spend more time talking about the negative stuff, Colin, in this business than what we do about the positive stuff. And I've fed that back to the business owner and the managers. And, you know, this morning they're doing that 360 approach that, you know what, if we create negativity and talk about, so we talk about negativity and all the roadblocks that are in the business at the moment, then that's the environment that we're going to create. So I think it's really, really important. When I always do appraisals with my team, I end up writing normally about 2 pages of notes of what I can do as a business owner to actually improve our own business here, and I really, really encourage that. So it's a two-way street, and we've got other webinars that have talked about, you know, how to conduct proper performance appraisals. Okay, I'd like to talk about the value of team discussions and workshops. So, you know, if you get on one-on-one, if you can't get it one-on-one, then obviously do it through workshops. So when you do this, it creates motivation and that team engagement. And again, I think what's important is when you've got a problem, and this is part of emotional intelligence. If you've actually got a problem and you say, look, this is the problem we've got with a company, and you get everyone to work out ways to actually create change or to fix something within the business. It gets people thinking. It creates motivation and team engagement. Now, again, I always do lots of work around having great meetings. So a boring meeting is not a good meeting. You need to try and work out some strategies or ways that you can create that engagement. I think it builds alignment of where the business needs to go. And again, that's that. I talk about that business acumen. This is what we need to do. What's the alignment? Where does the business need to go? What do we need to do to survive and thrive, especially with this COVID-19? I think provides clarity and buy-in on what you want to do. And I talked about that before. So when you come up with a project or you're having discussions, if you don't get clarity on what people are going to do or how it's going to work, then basically you're only going to get about 50% of the commitment. So you need to get clarity, and more important is you need to get buy-in on what to do. Now, you may not necessarily get agreement, right? So people might not agree with what you just come up and decide to do, but that's okay, long as there's clarity and they accept it and get on with it. That's what's important. And again, that's where I think, you know, I talked about before, you know, be upfront with your business, upfront with your team, explain about the business. The business just can't justify this yet, or this is not a good decision, or I like what you've gone, we just can't do it right now, we need to park it. But, you know, for the projects you're doing, get that clarity and buy-in on what you want to do. I think it builds better trust, and I think especially between people, your staff, and departments. And again, in this time of COVID-19, this is where the test is really at right now. Are people working better together, and are departments supporting one another? And I can assure you that there are companies out there that are doing a great job of this, and there are companies that need help, and that's certainly the work that we're doing. You have a good, if you have good healthy conflict or debate on a certain subject for the betterment of the company, then again, that's going to be good. So you want to encourage people to voice their opinion and what they think. And again, that goes back to when you make a decision, getting that clarity and buy-in. I might not necessarily agree, but if it's for the benefit of the company, I think that's important. Now, again, when you come up with a project, we want to get everyone's committed, and I think it's important that you delegate responsibility. So go back to leadership. Who's going to be responsible for this? Who's going to take ownership of it? And then, in a great meeting I recently attended, where there was a restructure, the new managers come in and said, I'm not going to hold you accountable to do what you need to do, because you've been here for well over 10 years, each and every one of you in the room. What you need to do is hold each other accountable to achieve the outcomes. So it's not me doing this. It's not you. It's them holding. This is the project. This is what you need to do, but you hold each other's accountable, which I think was absolutely fantastic. And again, really good demonstration of engagement and giving people a project to do that is not micromanaged by a manager. So overall, the value of team discussions and workshops is all about how to produce. It produces great results if they're done right. And again, in this pandemic that we're in, it's really important that that we do it. So what's the best way to get back from feedback? I think there's a question that's come up from somebody on the hookup. Well, for me, it is definitely by doing a group discussion and those one-on-one discussions. And I'm about to get into to something else you can do, which is maybe do a staff satisfaction survey that's anonymous and they're effective. So I think and we do a lot of employer and staff satisfaction surveys, and sometimes what happens when we run them, clients say, well, I sort of knew that, and then they also see surprises that come out. But I'm really big on, especially right now, we use employer and staff satisfaction surveys in key business advisors to try and create change. And we've done a fair few during this this COVID-19, because we want to know if people are still happy working from home and stuff like that. So it's effective. And using a third party, I'll say you can do them yourself, but using a third party, people feel that they can speak up a little bit more, which I think is important. And by the way, not only we've got staff surveys, but we've had one client that didn't want to do staff surveys. They've actually paid one of our HR professionals to actually ring each staff member one by one and really opened up. What does the business need to do to become more effective, and done it on a one-on-one basis using a third party. But when you do this, it demonstrates that you care and you want to improve. And I think to me, that's really important. And we're about to do one of these. I'm paying another company to do our own employer staff satisfaction survey on ourselves in October, because I really want to see what we've done well over the past 6 months and what we need to do going into 2021. If it's anonymous, your staff, as I said before, your staff may provide valuable feedback that you did not expect. Again, I think that's important. It verifies that you're on the right track with your company strategy. So it's not only you look at it from a negative point of view, you can look at it from a positive point of view. This is actually in place, this is embedded, and it's working. Learn about key areas of improvement. Now, commonly when we do an employer staff satisfaction survey, we get answers like, I've not had a performance proposal, lack of recognition and praise, I don't know where the business is heading. And yes, pay rates do come into it, but I can tell you over the last dozen that we've done, probably 3 of them have been raised by staff pay rates. The other 7 of them have actually been a misunderstanding on things like bonuses and how they actually work. So I think that's important. It demonstrates you want to become an employer of choice, and I think that's important. So we, as business owners, we all live the dream of having a great business and an employer of choice, because we don't want to lose quality staff members. We want to attract them. So again, this is a way of doing that. It keeps your staff engaged and motivated. And it prevents, I see this as preventing staff from leaving. So when you actually go and do some form of employer staff satisfaction survey, you know, you might be able to identify something that might prevent staff member from leaving, especially if you're not, if the things that you're not doing in the business you're not aware of. So there's a link on our on the bottom there to our website. There's also, if you have a look, there's a brochure that's attached on our thing. And I've got a question, so this is good. I've already answered that question. So yes, this is what we need to do. So I think, again, the employer staff satisfaction surveys is another way of attracting and getting good, valuable information about your business. So I think it's important. Why you must act on staff and team feedback. So again, we've talked about, you know, why it's important and ways to do it, but now why you must act on the feedback. Well, for me, it creates a positive environment and engagement. And I think I truly believe it just demonstrates true leadership, right? So you are reaching out to your team, you are finding information out about your business, and then you're acting upon it. All right. I do want to put it out there. If sometimes, you know, some staff can go down a pathway you don't want to go down to, like, you know, rustle things up and stuff like that. So I want to make it clear that it is for what you focus on the business, not the individuals or other people within the business. That's where the anonymous surveys come in. I think is better, not in a group environment. So it demonstrates leadership. It creates discussion and discussions and outputs. So again, you know, like, this is what we need to do to improve. Let's work on it. Let's make this happen. I think it truly moves people out of their comfort zones. And, you know, just in working with a brand new client that's come on board, one of the things that was mentioned by this client is he gets really frustrated when people walk out the door right on 5 o'clock. And he said, I want to know how I can get them to, you know, to work a bit harder, because we need it as a business to survive. So I said, well, rather than tell them you have to work more, why don't we create an environment where, you know, you get some feedback, do some projects, because, you know, I don't have to force my staff or my team to do extra overtime or anything like that. They just do it because they're very challenged and energized to get the outcome for the business. And again, I think that's important. So again, you want to have a situation where, you know, you create some discussions, you create some tasks and projects. You know, you want people to move out of their comfort zone. You want staff to be more challenged and energized, and you want staff to work more cohesively together. And again, I'm going to say, during this COVID-19, you know, we missed the conversation at the kitchen, having a coffee with everyone. But I think what's really been a real test is just how well people can work together remotely and be on the same page. I think that's important. Better outcomes to the business and your customers, and the bottom line. One thing I just want to mention is, with a company that I've just done some work with, I'm giving you lots of case studies. What's really come out of an exercise like this is they all said we do too many meetings. Yeah, we're having too many Zoom meetings, we're having too many meetings talking about what the business needs to do rather than getting on and doing the job. And so, you know, that triggered me sitting in on some of those meetings from one of our clients, where we've halved the meetings per week. We've, you know, rather than have a weekly meeting on this certain topic, can it be done per fortnight? And some of the things that really stood out from that was not everyone was coming to a meeting prepared, which frustrated the crap out of the owner. But you know, people were waiting on other information before they could actually present. So I think sometimes, you know, by reaching out to your staff member, you know, you can re-engineer what you're doing and just get a better output. Staff are looking for action and leadership. And again, you know, I have this conversation many times with lots of business owners and managers. Well, you know, why can't staff just take action and ownership? You know, why can't they do it themselves? Well, you know, my answer is, if they could do it themselves, they'd probably be sitting in your position right now. So, you know, you need to train them on how to take action and have leadership with what they're doing. So good staff feedback creates the following. It will definitely give you better business outcomes. It will create more ownership and accountability. It will increase staff and team commitment. It will create employee morale, really good morale, creates better outcomes and results, allows people to have more ownership, and I think it holds you, the leader, more accountable. And I know just by some clients that we work and some of that work closely with, just the value of when you see things working in your business, giving that recognition and praise, which I'll get into in a sec. But even things like we're starting to see gifts sent to staff from companies who just really value for people who are working from home. Okay, so understand what happens if you don't act on their feedback. So basically, the business will continue as is. And right now, in this pandemic that we're in, I don't think there's, unless you're absolutely thriving, I don't think you can continue the business as is. And my next newsletter actually talks about companies that are thriving, where we need to be prepared when the world starts to open up again, that it might not thrive as much as it has during this COVID-19. So I think it's important that you understand if you don't act on their feedback, then it'll just continue as it is. Disgruntled staff can causes disengagement. So if you create or want feedback from your team and you do nothing about it, then that'll create more disgruntled staff, and then it'll cause disengagement. And again, we've seen many times over the years of staff ganging up on the leader or the manager, saying, well, you don't value my input, you're not doing anything, and so it creates disengagement in your team. Can create anger and confusion. My biggest pet hate, no care factor. Costly mistakes happen because I'm not 100% focused. Lack of direction and leadership. And I'll tell you, the good staff will leave. And staff is one of the biggest expenses in a business. Normally wages are one of your highest, if it's not the highest expense in your business. So again, it is about getting that feedback and moving forward. So I hope you enjoyed my topic of number 3. Now I'd like to have a conversation about understanding why most staff leave. And I think this is really, really important, because when a staff member leaves, normally they'll say, I've got another job, I want to better my career and it's more money, and we accept that as business owners. But when we do surveys with staff who have left an organisation, especially key staff members, I can tell you, over 12.5 years, the number one thing is the environment they work in. So if they work in a toxic environment that's not well managed or organised, comes a time where they sit back and go, I don't want to do this anymore. And we've certainly seen a lot of that during COVID-19. The manager they work for, so they don't get along with the manager, don't like the manager, personality clash, not the manager not being a good leader, and it's just like, well, I need to be challenged better, so I'm going to look elsewhere. And number 3 is lack of training and support. So thrown in the deep end, I'm expected to do this, this, and this, but I've got no training and support. And I did a hook up with a client just before this webinar that I'm going to do some training with. And one of the things I asked is, how much product training have you done during these quiet times of COVID-19? And the manager looked at me and said to me, we've done very little training on products. And again, that's a net effect of the results of their business. So I think it's important that you've got to do it. And yes, to me, pay does come into this as well when staff members, when a staff member does what I call the value equation on the business. So the value equation is, what am I getting paid for? Is it worth it with the environment that I work in or the manager that I work for and the lack of training and support that I get? So that's something to think about. I'm very passionate and I speak quite harshly on this, but again, if you've got an environment that is a real good positive environment where everyone's on the same page and we're all leading from the front and celebrating the wins, then why would you leave? Why would you want to go and risk the brown grass on the other side? Okay, so what does it cost your business to replace a staff member? So I think this is a really good point. So, and this is my analysis, right? So this is the way I see it. I read lots of stuff around, what it costs the business, but to me, staff turnover hurts every business, and many times we do not look at the cost to replace them. All right. So to me, the cost of replacing a staff member is 3 times their salary. Right. Number 1, how much does it cost? Did it cost you to recruit in the first place? So if you went through a recruitment agency, if you did your own recruitment, what's your time going through that? And then your ads on Seek and all the above. And then also think about, while you're recruiting, the lack of productivity that's going on because you need this person to fulfill the person that's just left. What was the cost to induct and train them? So this is your time inducting and training them, somebody else's time inducting and training them. And to be honest, when a new staff member comes into a business, then you've got to develop them your way. And we have this thing in our business called the KBA way. This is the way that we want to induct you. This is the way we want you to learn our systems and everything like that. And there's a cost that's attached to that, because they could be tagging with some of my team members, and we've got to bring them up to speed. So there's a time lag to get them up to speed as well. And then think about your direct costs of paying them, so what their wages are, and your indirect costs in keeping them. Right, so these are people that are paying their wages, the indirect costs if there's training and stuff like that you need to do. So again, all of that adds up. So to me, if this was a key staff member, then this becomes a higher multiplier if it was a leader in your business. Now, I want to make it very clear. If it is a staff member that is disengaged and is letting the team down, well then, okay, yes, they've got to go. If they don't change their behaviour and their attitude. But if you've got a good staff member, then again, you got to think about the multiplier. And I just put some numbers together. So based on a 50K base, then you add 25%. Where do I get that from? Well, that's your work cover, that's your superannuation, all the things that you need to pay. Basically the salary is now costing you 62,500. You multiply by 3. So now so the 3 comes from, you've paid them 62,500, if that's what it is for the year. The recruitment and training, bringing them up to speed, costs you the same amount of money, and you need to start all over again, which is going to cost you the same amount of money. So that's my analysis of what happens if a staff member leaves the business, and what impact can it have on your other staff. So again, why we get staff feedback, and this is what this whole webinar is all about. It's important to understand that when companies lose staff members, others start to analyse why they left. So if the company lets an employee go due to their poor performance or poor attitude, then again, this can be the reverse effect, and it can be seen as a positive. And we've all experienced, well, why did you wait so long before you got rid of this person because they didn't like their behaviour or attitude, right? So we've all experienced that. On the other hand, if a key staff member leaves that is highly respected and extremely valued, then this will have the reverse effect of the business. So people are questioning, you've just lost a key staff member, so a really good leader. So high turnover of staff can create a toxic environment that gets out of control. So if you've had, for an example, a turnover of staff, and then within the next 6 to 12 months, that team turns over again, you're starting to lose IP, you're starting to lose really good knowledge in business. If it happens a third time, then basically you are starting at ground zero. So to me, any company goes through that experience, it'll take them 12 to 18 months to recover the knowledge, the ability to build, the ability to produce the income that the business needs. I'd love to know what your thoughts are on that, and which I'll ask at the end of this webinar. And my last topic is number 5, is why employee engagement is everything that can make or break your business, which is the whole content of this webinar. Okay, so it's about the teamwork and culture. So during COVID-19, I'm going to tell you, our business has seen, through our clients, has seen many companies grow and not others, even from the same industry. So you sit back and ask the reasons why. Why has that happened? So reasons why some of these companies have stood out are as follows. So the number one thing has definitely been the strong leadership. So the leader not panicking, reaching out to their team. What do we need to improve? Now, I don't say you do this every week, right? I just want to make that clear. You might do it every quarter, all right? Or if you need to do it. It depends on, where the situation is of your business. But, what we did in this business is we really reached out to our team when COVID hit around March. We put a plan in place in April, and we executed that plan in April, May, June, and then we redid the same thing again in July. And we're trading like the way we want to trade. We're in control of our destiny, is what I'm saying. The thing that needs to happen is great communication. So these businesses that are doing well and holding, even if they're not making the money that they need to, and people are on reduced hours, the communication is fantastic, where people know. The team environment, where people are supportive of one another. And I'll say, people, we just had Are You Okay Day last week, on Thursday or Friday, I think it was. So again, team involvement, checking in on one another. When there's clarity, buy-in, and the direction of what the company needs to do to survive and thrive, and everyone's on the same page, you can move mountains with your business. I think the other thing too is, and we've seen it, and I've said this in many other webinars, the companies out there that have got a really strong mission, vision, and values in their business that have stuck by them during these times have fruited with not losing staff and having better staff engagement and commitment. You need to have lots of celebrations, recognition, praise, and lots of thank yous and appreciations with some small gifts. And again, my daughter works for our accountant, and on Friday, she received a big box of fruit, and that just, MKS Group sent her a big box of fruit, and she's doing a bit of part-time work there, but the lift of her was just amazing. And for ours, we've sent our staff flowers and thanking them for hanging in with us. We've sent them balloons. We've got the other things coming, candles. Where there's something that we're doing to just to keep that that thank you for hanging in there. And again, I did mention at the start of this webinar, there are people all over Australia on this webinar. There's 70 odd people that have registered. But in Victoria, it has been tough working in a very closed environment, working from home, and still trying to keep your business going. Okay. I want to talk about the understanding importance of clarity and buy-in. I brought that up before. So people don't like change. We understand that, right? And think about your family. If there's going to be something that's going to change in the family, everyone starts, all your cousins and brothers and sisters start to arc up, right? It's the same thing in business. So in times like COVID-19, many companies have been forced to change, pivot, restructure, rethink their strategy for survival. We've heard all of that, and right now, if you turn on your mobile phone or put your computer on, someone's throwing something at you around rethinking your strategy and all that sort of stuff, pivoting your business. This is what you need to do with marketing. I think it's important that you get that clarity and buy-in from your team before decisions are made to lessen the impact on what needs to change. And again, the work that I'm doing, and just to put it out there, I do a lot of training, and I thought during COVID-19 that all my training would cease, which it has, based on the environment we're in. But as much as that's reduced, what's picked up immensely is the amount of work that I've done on companies where there has been big impact, where they've made quick changes, not got the buy-in, and then I've had to go in there and start doing the repair work with the owners to try and get everyone back engaged again. So I think it's important. It's really important that you must try and get that clarity and buy-in to lessen the impact on what the business needs to do. And for some companies that did it really, really well, they're going well. For others, there's still a bit of niggling going on within the business. More importantly, as you move forward to rebuild your pathway out of 2020, and again, that's a word that I'm using, this pathway, what's our pathway look like? You need your team to be 100% behind your strategy. And right now, we're in September, and I think what's starting to happen, and this is organically starting to happen, is the conversations that I'm having with my clients is about, okay, righto, this is a year that we're going to write off. This is a year that we've just hung on. Let's start talking about our strategy for 2021. And, and one of the things that I keep talking about is you might have had a tough year this year, but next year, make sure you've got yourself well prepared to cash in and make the money that you've lost this year on top of what you would normally do. So to me, that is really important. Lastly, the power of giving direction and building the pathway to success. So I think, in today's environment, especially with COVID-19, people want to work for companies that have solid foundations and a pathway to success on how to survive and thrive during these times. So it's that this is what we need to do. Again, echoing this webinar, getting valuable staff feedback could be the thing that makes or breaks your business. And if you've got long-term loyal employees, you need their input more so now than ever before. And I think if you're struggling, then consider an outsider to come in and help, as this will demonstrate that you're serious about creating change and diversity to keep what I say to keep going and growing. And that's the work that I've really picked up over the last 3 months, especially is going in to try and help this business trade out of the situation they're currently in. So I really hope you've enjoyed this webinar, and we've got some cheat sheets. So making sure that you've got you're meeting obligations and compliance, because we are also a HR business. So if you're returning back to work, and this is what's starting to happen now, and hopefully that, especially in Victoria, that we can get back to a normal life, then go and check some of our free downloads that are there. Now, if you're struggling and you like the idea of doing an employer and staff satisfaction survey, for everyone that's on this webinar, we've knocked 20% off the price if you're interested, and you can go to our website and have a look. So we're more than happy to support you on doing that. Now I'm dying to know if you've got any questions, and yes, we do. So beautiful. So what would be the minimum number of staff you'd recommend in the business to conduct a successful staff satisfaction survey, especially for maintaining? Yes, that's a really good question. So to keep it anonymous. So the way the staff, the employer staff satisfaction survey we do, it has a minimum of 5 per department. Now, if that basically if there was less than 5, then it won't give data, so you can't find that information out. But commonly we do employer staff satisfaction surveys for around that 15 to 50, 60 staff. That's where we mainly do them. And it can be done, the way that we can do them is it can be done via department. So you can do a breakdown of department or interstate or even different businesses, providing they're the same type of industry. So for an example, I've got 5 retail stores and they're all the same, then we can break that down. But definitely, it's a great question. And what happens if if we don't think that it's going to be viable, then we'd probably recommend, we would recommend maybe doing it as a one-on-one basis, which is what Alison did for one of our clients. I think there was 9 people. So she did it rather than do it through a survey, anonymous survey. It was done via 12 questions that was asked of the business. So we try and keep the cost down. Okay, do we have any other questions? Feel free to add it in. Smritha, I can't see any questions that are there, so I really hope you've enjoyed this webinar. Our business, we're here to help, and you can probably tell by it's Monday. It's a sunny day here in Melbourne. I'm as pumped up as anything because things are working, and I've really enjoyed this webinar. But if you need some help, whether it be help around managing staff, or you want some help on what I've just gone through this webinar, you can jump onto our website. You can book a Calendly invite with myself or any one of my HR professionals for a free 15-minute chat to help improve your business. As mentioned before, our next webinar is on how to recruit and induct, recruit and induction on track for a better employee engagement during this COVID-19. So, we've employed 2 staff during these times. So again, there are companies out there experienced. Well, how do I induct staff members? So yeah, you send the computer to them remotely, and you log in, and it's all fun and games. But what are the best ways to recruit during COVID-19? I'll talk about that. How to induct your staff even remotely, which I just spoke about. How to train your staff, get the most effective way, and then how to increase better employee engagement for new starters. I think that's really, really important. And how to put a plan in place for better success. So there are companies out there that have got new starters that have started with them, and it's been 2 or 3 months now, and they've never met the person face to face. So I think this is a really good topic for our next webinar, and it's back to what we need to do. Okay, so thank you very much for the webinar. I'm going to finish the webinar now, and I really hope you enjoyed the content that I went through, and would love some feedback. So at the end of this, give us some feedback, or feel free to drop us a line or an email. And we're, you know, as our mission, we're here to help and take your business from good to great. So thanks very much, and that concludes the webinar.